be there's some new people to the Institute, not new people necessarily, and some people who've been around for a while. And we don't want to take a lot of time with introductions, but I'd like to maybe just have people, I'll call your name off, and if you would just say who you are, and if you just came to UMaine, maybe tell us where you came from. If you're at UMaine, just tell us briefly what you do here. So I'll call people off. Becky.
Hi there, my name is Becky Adesi. I'm in the main office of the Institute, which is technically in my house now, I guess. But and so I am a contact for all the new grad students. You see my name on lots of emails because I'm the one who sends all those out. And so if you need to get a hold of me, you can just email me, or you can call my office number, and that gets forwarded here to me at the house, and I will call you right back as soon as I can.
Thanks, Becky. Andre.
My name is Andrei Kurbatov. I work at the Institute probably already 19 years, and I work with very small particles that come from volcanoes, so it's like tephra. And also I work with ice cores and look for volcanic signals in ice cores and paleoclimate reconstructions and impact of volcanism on climate.
Betty.
Hello, I'm here with Maya in my lap. I'm the Assistant Director of the Climate Change Institute. I'm part of the CCI admin team. If you need to get a hold of me, I've posted my cell phone number on the outside of my door. Looking forward to meeting all of you. Take care.
Great, thank you. Cap, otherwise known as Google Calendar.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Am I on?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, my name's Cap Introne. I work in the Stable Isotope Lab. I've been here in Maine for I guess 30 years. Anyways, yeah, I'm in my office right now, and anyways, I work in the Stable Isotope Lab. We measure the stable isotopic composition of snow, ice, precipitation, natural waters. Anyways, I'm here to help you do your research. If you have to measure any of those kinds of, make those kinds of measurements in snow or ice, I'm just here to help you do it.
Okay, thanks. Alessandro.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alessandro Merghetti. I'm a third-year PhD student in Jacqueline's Gill lab. She's not going to be here because she's on sabbatical, but in the lab, we work on long-term records to reconstruct the how global climate change affect ecology and evolution over time. So I'm also going to briefly introduce the work we do in the lab, that is, and the stuff we work on, that right now is for cores from Falkland Island to understand the ecology over time and how the deglaciation affected the nutrient cycling there. We work on the mammoth steppe ecosystem, so we've been doing field work in Siberia and hopefully in Alaska next year. Right now we are working with mammoth coprolites to understand their diet. And there's a branch of work that is modern ecology related to alpine plants and climate change and how that will affect conservation. And there's a new thing that Jacqueline is about to start about why ferns were so successful after the extinction of the dinosaurs, basically. So yeah, that's it.
Good, I like your backdrop. Dan Sandweiss.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm an archaeologist. I've been here since 1993. I'm in both the anthropology department and the Institute. I do archaeology and related climate work on the desert coast of Peru. That's what you see behind me. That's some of the desert. And I help Betty and Becky organizing some of the annual events for the Institute.
Thank you. Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a first year brand new graduate student in Jacqueline Gill's lab. I did my undergrad at Marlborough College in Vermont, And I'm working on the project that Alessandro just mentioned that has to do with alpine plant communities and their response to climate change.
Thank you. Bailey.
I just signed in, so I think I missed the preface.
Oh, just give us a quick rundown, rundown about what you're doing.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm Bailey. I am a ecology and environmental sciences PhD student in my second year, and then affiliated with the School of Biology and Ecology, and newly the Climate Change Institute. Also, I work with Brian McGill, and I study kind of macro questions about tree species distributions in the US and trying to kind of predict where trees might be going.
Okay, thank you. Carly.
Yeah, hi, I am a new graduate student as well. I'm a master's student, and then I'm working with Dr. Burkle looking at the impacts of heat stress and drought on blueberries in Maine.
Thank you. Dom.
Hi everyone, I'm Dom Winsky. I'm a research professor here at the Institute, and I use ice cores to look at past changes in sea ice, wildfire, temperature, precipitation, especially during the last several thousand years. Thanks.
Thank you. Elena.
Hi, I'm Elena. I'm a lab manager. I'm working in the Keck laser ice facility, ice core melting lab, and ion chromatography labs. So my primary work, I analyze ice cores, and I've been here a long time. I did my master and PhD at Climate Change Institute.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth LeClaire. I am a second year graduate student working with Dan Sanweiss in coastal Peru. And I'm interested in looking at kind of the dynamics between human societies and water resources and how these changed, particularly during periods of climate change.
Thank you. Hannah.
Hi, I'm a second year PhD student working with Carl Kreutz, and I study pollution and ice core records from Denali.
Thank you. Ingelise.
Hi, I'm a master's student. I work with Carl Kreutz and Dom Winsky using ice cores to reconstruct past climate up in the Alaska area.
Thank you. Heather?
Hi there, I'm Heather Clifford. I am a doctorate student working with Mayewski, Andrei Kurbatov, among others, and I work on ice cores looking at atmospheric conditions in high mountain areas.
Thank you. Jasmine.
I'm Jasmine. I'm the Associate Director of the Institute, and I'm a professor in the biology department. I'm a lake ecologist, and I use diatom fossils to reconstruct environmental change.
Thank you. Carl. Carl.
Sorry. Sorry. It took me a minute to unmute myself, and I'm going to leave my video off. My internet seems to be unstable. I'm Carl. I'm a professor in CCI and also the School of Earth and Climate Science. I use some combination of glaciology, geochemistry, and atmospheric science to look at the climate system on different timescales. I'm also the CCI Graduate Coordinator, which I think I'm going to talk a little bit about more later, but in that capacity, I'm sure I'll interact with many or all of you.
Thank you. Lizzie?
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all. So I'm Lizzie Gadrani. I'm a first year graduate student here, and my graduate program is related to paleoclimate reconstructions from the oldest ice area records collected in the Allen Hills in Antarctica.
Thank you. Madeline.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm actually a Spring Start graduate student, so I'm not technically there yet, but excited to be. And I'm also in Jacqueline Gill's lab. It looks like my research will be focused on Indigenous people's use of fire pre-settlement.
Thank you. Mario.
Hello, my name is Mario Potowski. I'm a postgraduate student. I'm finishing my PhD, working also with Andrei, and I analyze ice cores from Antarctic Peninsula, Andes, and Himalayas. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matthew, and I'm working with Bonnie Newsom to use ceramics, pre-contact indigenous ceramics as a proxy for paleoclimates.
Thank you. Meredith.
Hey everyone, sorry if you can't hear me, it's a little loud in the lab, but I'm Meredith Helmet. I'm a first-year graduate student here with working with Andre, and my research focuses on reconstructing Earth's explosive volcanism, the history of that, using ice cores, mostly from the South Pole.
Thank you. Okay, this is one M Spot. M Spot.
Yeah, my name is Megan Spoth. I haven't changed my Zoom name yet. I'm back as a first-year PhD student, and I studied the paleoclimate of the Patagonia region using lake cores.
Thank you. Paloma.
Hi, I'm a first-year graduate student in the Marine Policy Program and the Climate Change Certificate, and I'm going to be looking at climate vulnerability in small-scale fisheries.
Thank you. Peter.
Hi, everyone. I'm a PhD student. I study glacial geology, and I work primarily in the cosmogenic isotope lab.
Roger.
You're muted, Roger.
I tried to unmute.
There you go.
Okay. I'm Roger Hook. I'm a research professor in School of Earth Sciences and Climate Change Institute. I've been here for about 20 years full time, and before that, about 10 years as part-time. I'm an octogenarian, so you won't see me around too much, but I'm quite happy to talk to people about glaciological problems and about geomorphological problems. I do a certain amount of glacial geomorphology in Maine, and you may run into my name on a textbook that I recently published called Principles of Glacier Mechanics.
Thank you, Roger. Scott.
Hello, I'm working with Seth Campbell and Brenda Hall and addressing questions of the ice history of the Western Arctic ice sheet. And I'm a third-year PhD student.
Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Rachel Chapman. I'm an assistant professor of sustainable agriculture. I work in different cropping systems, looking at drought vulnerability mostly, and also have a social science background looking at decision-making around known climate change issues.
Thank you. Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean Burkle. I'm a research assistant professor here at CCI and also the Maine State climatologist. And my primary research areas are climate modeling, data visualization, climate analysis, and I've also developed Climate Reanalyzer. And feel free to contact me with questions about how to access climate and weather data sets. Thanks.
Thank you. Seth.
Hey everyone, I'm an assistant professor at CCI and also in the Earth and Climate Sciences with a focus in glaciology, as well as permafrost and geophysics. You can find me second floor of Sawyer. And I also got permission to introduce Kristen Schild, who can't be here right now. She's currently submitting a NASA proposal that's due today, but she also sits next door to me in Sawyer, and she specializes in remote sensing the cryosphere, so spends a lot of time looking at ice-ocean interactions, glaciological processes. So if you have any interest in glaciers, come see us.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody? Okay, I'll assume no. So we have about 130 people in the Institute, and you've heard from 32 of them so far. Many of our meetings, we end up with quite a few more people, but this one is largely designed for people who are just starting or people who haven't heard the introduction that we are now providing. We have a lot of other things going on this semester, this year. You'll hear about several of them. First off, we'll start with the sort of an introduction of the Institute administration team, which includes myself as director, Jasmine Saros as associate director, Betty Lee, assistant director, and Becky Adesi as accounting support specialist. You'll hear more from all of us in a little bit, but let me just start off with a quick introduction to the Institute. Can everybody, whoops, I assume everybody can see this. We don't need to do share screen, right? Or should I do share screen?
Is it your slides, Paul?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Is it your slides?
Yes.
Do you want me to just do it from my end?
I can do it from this end, whichever is easier, but I think since you have everything, probably, why don't you put on the share screen?
Okay.
You do share, and we'll go from there. And that'll take care of everybody.
Sounds good. Give me just a second.
Okay. This is just a short introduction to the Institute. Many of you are familiar with this. All of this material will be on the website. So if you have colleagues who missed it and are interested in it, you can easily access it. Some of the information that'll be discussed well, we won't be able to discuss everything. Anything extra that's that's listed on here will also be on the website. We're going to try to finish no later than 2:30.
All right, I'm almost there. Sorry.
No problem. Perfect.
There we go.
Okay, if we could go to the third slide, please. I realize this is a more awkward way to be doing this, but because we have all of our information combined, this might be easiest. So the University of Maine is obviously a place for undergraduates and graduate students. It's also a place for research. And the Vice President for Research Office, this is the logo that we use for a lot of the sort of the overall overarching research program in the university. Notice the two phrases on the top: global impact and local relevance. The Climate Change Institute is an absolute model for this. We work all over the world, including, of course, Maine, and we work on things that have global significance, but they also have local relevance. And not just because people work in Maine, but also because of many of the things that we find outside of Maine. Next, please. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're one of the oldest climate research units in the world. We will soon have a 50-year legacy. Our founding director, Professor Harold W. Borns Jr., passed away just a few months ago. And once things calm down and we're able to see each other more easily, we'll actually have an event celebrating all of the things that he did. He did a remarkable job of organizing our institute close to 50 years ago. Our logo is exploration and discovery in every possible way that one can think about it. We work in 3 different time zones. The present, obviously, which includes the last 100 years of instrumental and climate reanalysis, and the remotely sensed period. In order to understand the present, we go back in time. We have several different ways of doing this: lake sediment cores, ice cores, deep sea cores. We want to find out how much more dynamic is the range of climate in the past than what we perhaps have experienced already. And we're also looking for analogs of, in particular, warmer, but also colder climates. And one of the purposes for looking at the past and the present is obviously to combine this information and to be able to make better predictions for the future. And we do this not only by involving models, both global circulation models and analog models, but also by monitoring. Next. Thank you. This is just to highlight the fact that in the process of doing all 3 of these things, looking at the past, the present, and thinking about and helping to predict better the future, we develop new technologies. I won't go into details, but we have state-of-the-art technologies in this institute that have only been developed by this institute. Likewise, for software, Sean Burkle already mentioned Climate Reanalyzer, which he is the founder, the developer of, but we also have other software, not quite as popular, Sean gets 2,000 to 3,000 hits a day on his software. And we've developed new approaches to understanding and predicting the future, which you will learn about as time goes on, not necessarily today, but this is just to point out the fact that we're trying to constantly stay on the cutting edge of a rapidly evolving field that involves climate science. And when we talk about climate, we don't just mean physical climate. We also include chemical climate, biological climate, and all of the social involvement in the climate system. So we're not only multidisciplinary, we're also highly interdisciplinary. Next, please. In the case of most of the graduate salaries, graduate student salaries, for all of our, literally all of our equipment, all of our expeditions, and much of the support outside of the tenure track faculty comes from proposals that are written by the faculty. And this is just to give you a feeling for all of the places that we apply for funding. It takes a tremendous amount of a researcher's time to be writing proposals. In the case of the National Science Foundation, the average success rate is about 10%, and we're at close to 75 or 80% success rate. It becomes harder and harder as time goes on. We've been funded by many other federal agencies, NOAA, NASA, EPA, USAID. Right in the middle is the logo for the state of Maine. We obviously get a tremendous amount of support from the state of Maine and from various other organizations, National Geographic, the Comer Fund, Keck, other private groups like Russell Grinnell, the Bingham Foundation, Heinz Endowments, and Maine CDC, plus private gifts, and also activities that we do in conjunction with commercial operations such as pelagic sailing vessels. Next, please. We're very proud of the fact that literally every student who is interested in having a field experience, whether it be in the United States or in some other part of the world, gets to do that. And this is just an example. The red dots show you all the places all over the world that Institute researchers have conducted expeditions and research. And you can see this very example on the walls of both Sawyer and Bryant if you want to find a little bit more detail. We also keep track of our expeditions, and you'll hear more about how we do that and what your part will ideally be in that. Next, please. We have tons of partners. We have many partners within the university. Many of them are academic units, School of Biology and Ecology, Earth and Climate Sciences, Marine Sciences, and a variety of others that you can read. And we hold these associations to be very dear to us. Many of our graduate students, if not almost all of our graduate students, get their degrees in these academic units. So the association between the academic units and the institute is very important to us. We have many partners in the state of Maine. These include the various state agencies, non-governmental organizations, and a variety of others that we work with on several different types of programs, ranging from the importance of tick migration related to climate change to heat stroke, working in Acadia National Park conducting research, and a variety of other things. We have many federal partners. Some of them were already listed, like the National Science Foundation, but many additional partners are also included. We work with many institutions in the United States. This is only a partial list of those US institutions. And we have many international partners, a significant number of countries, literally one minimum in every single continent. So we're spread around the world, and as a consequence, we have a very far-reaching impact globally within the state and within the university. Next, please. And this last one shows how the theme of climate change actually binds many different organizations in the University of Maine together. We're what's called a signature research program in the university. There are a few of these. I think it's either 5 or 6. As a signature research program, it means that we're sort of the organization that is the pivoting point for this particular activity, climate change. We are not, however, nor do we have included in our institute every single activity that relates to climate change in the university. The University of Maine has a very strong environmental and climate change research and educational role, and whether they're in our institute or not, we interact in many different ways. And you can take a look at this in more detail. It ranges from big data applications to climate reconstruction, sustainability, adaptation. We really pride ourselves with being nimble in terms of thinking about what is the next thing that's important to understand when it comes to climate change. So with that, I'll turn it over to, I believe it's Carl who's next. If you could go down one. And Carl is the Institute Graduate Program Coordinator, and he'll talk to you about the graduate program. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Good. Am I audible now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks. Okay, yeah, as Paul said, I'm the CCI Graduate Program Coordinator. And as you probably all know, we in CCI like to cast a wide umbrella for graduate students. We have, I think, well over 50 graduate students who are considered either CCI graduate students or affiliated graduate students. So that's a big umbrella, which I'm happy to interact with all of you and provide any guidance and help I can with your graduate program. But as graduate coordinator, I'm sort of officially responsible for you if you're in the CCI master's degree program itself. And so I'm your point of contact. If you're in the CCI master's degree program, I'm your point of contact with the graduate school, and I can help you with any and all aspects of that. Those of you in the MS program probably know that there are 3 required classes as part of the MS program: ERS 542, INT 500, and either Anthro-Bio 510 or Anthropology 530. So those are the 3 required classes. The things that you need to know with respect to timelines for graduation and the different forms. I won't take the time to go through all that here, but what I would do is direct you to the graduate school website. The link is there on the slide. They've actually got a really nice set of information with respect to all the timelines and forms you need when you're thinking about finishing up. And that's really where, for those of you in the CCI MS program, where I'm going to interact with you, because I have to sign several of those forms when you're going to graduate. I'm sort of a gatekeeper in terms of a signature to get you out the door. So you'll want to know about all that stuff and how I can help you. One thing I did want to point out is the Interdisciplinary Climate Studies Certificate. Most, if not all of you, are going to take the 3 required classes anyway. And if you take those 3 classes, you can get the, you're eligible for the Climate Studies Certificate. So I don't really know that there's any reason not to get the certificate. The only thing you have to do is fill out an application with the graduate school, and then I do all the approvals, and then that's it. You've got the certificate. So it's a great thing to have on your CV. I'd encourage y'all to do it, and you're going to have the classes anyway, so why not? Beyond that, I'm always here. Email me if you have any questions, things I can help you with respect to the grad school and your degree progress. I'm happy to help at any time you need me. Becky, can I have the next slide, please? Yep. The other thing I wanted to point out is in terms of student opportunities, CCI and the university are members of the University of the Arctic. We joined back in 2015. UArctic is a organization of over 200 educational institutions that have some interest or interaction with Arctic issues. So it's a really wide network of institutions doing Arctic things, and it's our membership gives us access to lots of UArctic programs. The sort of flagship student program is called the North to North Mobility Program. That allows any students within UArctic member institutions to take courses at other institutions. So there's a lot of examples of students taking semester-long programs, at other Arctic institutions. And so we have access to all of that. The website, the UArctic website has a good listing of all those opportunities. So I'd be happy to chat with anybody about that if they're interested. Another opportunity is participating in the Model Arctic Council, which for the past couple of years has been held up at the University of Alaska Fairbanks every year. Another great opportunity to get some more exposure to Arctic social, economic, political issues. And lastly, something, again, if you're interested, there are opportunities to serve as student representatives to the board of the University of the Arctic. Again, another great opportunity to get some really broad exposure to different Arctic issues that you might not otherwise interact with, but you can through these different opportunities. So again, if anybody's interested in these things, email me, give me a call, let's talk about it. I think there's a lot of good stuff that could come from this.
And thank you, Carl. Before we go on to the Bourne Symposium, which Dan Sandweiss will talk about, Jasmine, if you're willing, Jasmine, as you already met her, Jasmine Saros is Professor of School of Biology and Ecology and the Associate Director. And when it comes to the Arctic, Jasmine just received a large grant from the National Science Foundation for education of students in the Arctic, which will have courses involved in it. So before I say more, Jasmine, would you mind talking to us a little bit about that? It's a major accomplishment.
Sure. I can just say that the program is focused on Arctic systems science, and we will have a number of courses coming out as part of that. They'll start next year. So you'll hear some more about that, I think, later this year. As Paul said, we just received the funding, so we're just getting the program up and going now. There will be 20 new graduate students recruited into the program, but there will also be opportunities for graduate students outside of those 20 to join in on some of the field courses and a number of the different activities. So you'll be hearing a lot more about it this year.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay. Dan, if you would tell us about the Bourne Symposium, please.
Sure. Do you want to do the Churchil first, or?
Oh, sorry. Yep, you take over. Go from there. Thanks.
Okay, so the Institute is very fortunate to have an exploration fund for graduate students, thanks to the generosity of Dan Churchil, who is an alum of the university. There's an annual competition, and you'll hear about it in January, or I guess early January. We'll put out the call for proposals, and it supports students to do field work in some place, generally not in Maine, but further away. At least that was the original intent. You can get several $1,000s in support if you are successful. Most students are. Often it's to allow you to add on to a faculty member's project, but sometimes students do their own projects on their own. You need to put in a short but well-crafted proposal, and when you're done, you have to write a report and you have to share it with Dan Churchil as well. He's an avid reader of both the proposals and the reports, and you're very likely, when you finish, to hear back from him with questions about what you did and a deep interest. He often participates in the Bourne Symposium. But this is one of the really good opportunities for students who are formally CCI students. You have to be either CCI affiliated or in the MS track to be eligible for this.
And
I
maybe
think
you
if
could
you
just clarify what CCI affiliated means.
That means that you have to have an advisor who is a member of the Institute and have agreed to and be making progress on taking the 3 courses that Carl was talking about.
Thank you.
And I don't know if people have, I guess they will have access to the PowerPoints. They'll be able to click on the various links here and look at the actual guidelines. I assume they're the guidelines from last year, but they're not going to change significantly for this year. Carl, did you want to add anything to that? I do. This is something that Carl and I work on together with Paul.
No, I think you covered it all, Dan. Thanks.
So, questions on that? Anybody?
I should just mention that this has turned out to be a remarkable opportunity for in many different ways. In some cases, it's allowed students, or in all cases, it's allowed students to do something in addition to the current work that they're doing, something that they're very interested in that expands upon it. And in other situations, it's actually provided the funding for them to get into the field and conduct their PhD programs. So it's a very important resource for our institute, and one that every single year, I think Carl and Dan can correct me, at least 4, maybe 5 students get to participate in this process or are funded.
Yeah. And it also includes students working on their masters through the institute. And we should actually add this up, but quite a few peer-reviewed journal articles have come out of work that started with Churchil Exploration Fund grants. It's been a very successful program.
It's also a great opportunity for you to begin writing proposals and learn what it's like to, from the ground up, build an expedition, propose, find the money, undertake it, report it.
Hey, Dan, I had a quick question about the Churchil Exploration Fund. I don't know if you wanted to touch on or maybe update us about the status for anyone who did receive a grant last year but was unable to use it because of COVID.
We've held the money, and the intent is for you to be able to use it this year without having to recompete it. We will have new money, and we'll also compete new grants for new students, other students who weren't currently funded out of this year's pool. But yes, we're holding the money for you.
And is there a sort of a deadline for using that money? I mean, say like if we're unable to travel even until this coming summer.
I'm not aware of a deadline. I think everybody understands the difficulty. We don't want anybody going when it's unsafe. I know, for instance, your work is in Peru. Right now, Peru has the 2nd highest death rate in the world. And I'm not sure that it's going to be possible to do field work next summer, but I'm sure we can hold the money until it is safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we go on to Borns?
Yes, please.
So the Institute has been doing an annual symposium in the spring until now, every year since 1993, coincidentally the first year I got here. So this must be the 28th that would have been last, or the 29th perhaps. Which one, Becky, which one was it going to be last spring?
That's a great question. I'd have to look it up.
Somewhere like that. Anyway, it's very close to 30.
I think.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. It began when the Institute was much smaller as an event for everybody, to faculty and students, to talk about what they were doing. As we have grown, it is an obligatory event for students. You must all talk in some point, a poster if you're a first-year student, and then a spoken talk, an oral presentation if you are beyond the first year, to talk about what you're doing, whatever stage you're at, whether it is thinking about what you're going to do, having written a proposal, or having actually gone out and done some field work and perhaps even some analysis to update us on your progress. Faculty members do also participate if they wish, generally with shorter talks to give a quick update on their latest work. We have been, for a number of years now, more than 10, I think, having students and other participants write mini papers. It's a one-page paper with a format which you should have all received in the mail, which become an important part of the Institute's annual report. Those are due for this year, which is really last spring's postponed meeting at the end of this month. If you're unaware of that, or if you haven't gotten the formatting guidelines, you can write to Becky and get that from her. So that's an important document. It's a kind of quasi-publication. We're working on actually getting those posted to Digital Commons, so they'll have a little bit wider visibility in the future. What else can we say about this? It's very interdisciplinary, like the Institute. It is a chance to see the breadth as well as the depth of what the Institute does. It's remarkable. It is also, in doing so, a chance to build new links and to come up with new interdisciplinary projects you might not have thought of before as you listen to other people talk about what they're doing. So a lot of good ideas have come out of these meetings. A lot of good projects have been born in these meetings, as it were. I had to get at least one pun in there. What else, anything else that others who participate think we should say about this?
Maybe could you describe the plan for the current Born Symposium?
Yes. All right, so we had, because of the pandemic, we had to cancel our meeting. Normally it's 2 days live at the end of the spring semester. So we postponed it, and we'll now be doing it with 3 talks a day beginning in early October. Exact date and time to start will be announced shortly. And students mostly will each give a talk. If you are beyond if you've been here for at least a year, I believe it's a 12-minute talk. If you just got here, it's 5 minutes about what you're planning to do. And we understand that students who came last year probably didn't get into the field, but you should have a more developed proposal at this point, which you can talk about. We'll do 3 each week, and then each day will begin with a grad student who will be assigned to summarize, say something about the papers from the previous week. Occasionally, we'll stop and use the time for an invited guest speaker from elsewhere. One advantage of the Zoom world is that we can get almost anybody from almost anywhere to join us for an hour and share their expertise and their latest research with us. So we'll be doing a bit of that as well. If COVID is resolved by the end of the spring semester, I believe the plan is to hold the coming year's Born Symposium also in the spring live, if possible. Otherwise, we will inform you about how we're going to handle it when we come to that. But for this year, we'll begin in October, and we will go through most of the spring semester to finish up all of the talks that we need to schedule. Once we have your mini papers, we'll work out a schedule of who's going to speak when, which students will be giving the summary of the previous week, and so on. Obviously, the summaries will start in the second week. Do you have any questions about how this is going to work? This is an obligatory event for students who are in the Institute, affiliated with the Institute. You must speak, you must attend. You will have to do one of the summaries as well. And if you need credit for this, you could sign up for 1 credit as instead. I believe we've worked out that you can do it instead of a thesis credit or as one of your thesis credits if you need it, but you need to attend whether you're getting credit or not. There is also an option to take this as part of INT 500, which otherwise will not be taught this year. If you do that, you commit to attending all the meetings spring and fall, and in addition to having a discussion section every other week with several of the faculty members who will be running that, which includes Kirk Mosh and myself, and as available because of her sabbatical, Jacqueline Gill, also joining us for that. So that's I guess Borns is merged into the INT 500 for this year. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So normally you can take the Born Symposium as a 1 credit class and it's separate from INT 500, is that right?
Well, normally it was not a credit class at all. It was a 2-day live symposium that we simply all attended. But I talked to the graduate school, and they're at least willing to consider. You can certainly take it for 1 credit as a thesis credit, but it may be allowed to count as one of your minimum. If you're only going to do the 6 required thesis credits, it may be able to count for that. But you don't have to. You can simply do it and not do it for credit. It depends on your credit budget and your needs. That's just an option that we worked out or trying to work out if it makes it easier for your program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. If you take it as INT 500, though, that is a 3-credit course, and it is on the books. You can sign up for it either in the fall or the spring, but you must commit to participating throughout both.
And we also expect that everybody will attend the 1 hour a week Born Symposium. We understand that there might be conflicts. It's going to be recorded, so you can watch it if you need to. You will be called upon to give your own presentation at the right time, although that could be pre-recorded if it's necessary to do this. And you'll also be called upon once to give an introduction to what happened, or I should say, give a summary of what happened for the last week. So 1 hour a week, we'll be seeing each other on a fairly regular basis. And we're all hoping that that will be a good opportunity, not just to hear from the 3 students, which is very important, but also to see each other, and we can take a few minutes as needed to talk about other issues that come up. So consider it, in many ways, we'll get to see each other more than we probably would have during a normal semester, because we don't get together once a week as an entire institute. And Dan mentioned that this really focuses on the graduate students. Faculty certainly can provide shorter presentations, but we have another event called the Icebreaker, and that'll just be probably a 1.5 or 2 hour event maximum. We typically meet in the country club in Orono. We won't be doing that this year, but that will be your opportunity, once we find the date, to get a good overview of what all of the faculty are involved in. We will try to do it in no later than mid-October, so that as you're putting ideas together, or as you are realizing the extra things that or the extra personnel resources you might want to be involved in, this will give you a chance to meet some of those people, find out what they're doing. Would it be nicer with a bunch of beer in the country club? But we'll have to wait with that for a while. Or if you're at home, you can bring your own. Okay, thank you, Dan. Anything else that you wanted to add?
I didn't mention that, but after each talk, or at least at the end of the set of talks you did, there also will be time for Q&A. So we will have some good discussions, I think.
And our format, for those of you who are familiar with the American Geophysical Union, our format is just like the American Geophysical Union, those 12 minutes. And Dan already said this, but I just want to repeat it. Everybody is required to send in their 1-page mini paper. You can consider it gray literature for your CV. So for many of you, it might be your first graduate publication, not peer reviewed, but nevertheless in the gray literature. And we do report them in our annual report. And it's yet another way for us all to find out what the other one is doing, because we are such a large institute. All of our previous annual reports, including the Bourne Symposium mini papers, are on our website. If you want to take a look at what people have done in the past, look for ideas about how to frame what you're doing, you can find them all there. Okay, shall we move on to CCI Labs, please? Who is going to introduce that?
We didn't really have a plan, Paul, it's Andre, but I can briefly discuss this topic.
I should mention that none of this, we never had a dress rehearsal for any of this, so thus far it's going fairly smoothly.
Yeah. We put a list of labs and facilities that are affiliated with the Institute, and also some other research programs they have affiliation with the Institute. And you will get an idea of the instrumentation we have. And also, if you click on the links, some of the links have videos. They have links from this PDF, and also at the website, they also all active links. And again, the idea here is you will understand equipment and instrumentation you can potentially could have access to, and also the contact person that you have to talk to and discuss the way you can access this instrumentation. Obviously, some of these instruments booked, some of these instruments very expensive to run, so you really need to talk on a case-by-case basis. But potentially all this equipment is available to you if you do it the right way, and also you need to discuss with your advisor how to approach it. And I think that's pretty much it. And I encourage you to play with this 2 pages and click on some videos that we have. Like at least we have 4 videos active at this moment. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Looks like Mike Handley's next. My version is the small pages are blurred, so I'm having trouble reading them. But Mike, if you would take it away.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike is online. I don't see him. Generally, the policy, if you need the lab keys or keys for the building, a university changed the policy now. I think for the buildings, it has to go, Becky probably can help you with this because you will need some account and something. But for the labs, for Sawyer at least, Mike handles everything. So you just need to talk to Mike and you can get a key from Sawyer, which is our kind of largest facility here. That's it.
Next slide, please.
Oh, that's me again. Okay. I'm gonna point you in a couple of websites that university manage. An idea here, we all pretty much know how to use Zoom, but if you're looking on like a list of sign-up users right now, you see some people actually listed as with their names and some people listed as guests. So I wonder if some of you did it intentionally or not, but the reality is you probably want to go to the Zoom manual and read a little bit about this because some Zoom sessions are very restricted. And if you're signing in as a guest, you might not be able to sign. That could be your one problem. Another thing about Zoom, I recommend you always use the wire, not the wireless connection. It will make it very stable and you will not going to have problems with the delay and like a sound. And also, if you're really on a Zoom and you're kind of delivering a serious talk or you're presenting like your thesis proposal, I would recommend to use a good microphone and check that, in advance. So everybody is having problems. You're not unique and alone with this. You could have a bad day. Simply, it happens to everybody. Just don't panic. Everybody understand it's not a big deal nowadays. And the more we use it, more trouble we're going to have. Another thing, Udemy, I don't know if you guys ever use this. It's really good thing if you travel. Obviously, we're not traveling now, but hopefully we will in 6 months to a year. And I recommend it. University joined the system a year ago, and it's about 120 large universities globally. So you can be in Europe and have free access to wireless, which is actually in some European countries problematic. Or you can be in the West Coast and also use the same internet without any trouble in University of Washington, for example. So that's I recommend you to sign up, and it works with any device, but it's a little tricky and not always works the way intended. But there is a link to IT support, so you can pretty much talk to those guys, and they will help you. And they're pretty good. And nowadays they generate a lot of paperwork or emails, so be ready for that. But eventually they will help you. You mean Google account. So this account is pretty good because it allows you to, if you sign in, and obviously you want to use one of the Google products, like a Google Chrome probably, you could use Google Drive and also this conference system Meet, which is pretty good. Just be aware, sometimes you send invitation through your calendar and a lot of people not using calendar for many reasons. Just double check if people actually accept your invitation. If they've seen it, some people disable it because they can, don't want to have any access to their system. And also I recommend you to not to install Google Drive software locally, just use it through a web browser. This way you can still have all your folders. I think as of today, we have 20 gigabyte storage, I believe, through university. Or maybe it's unlimited actually nowadays. So it's a huge thing. And also, there's a really good way to send an email. You can create a Google group for your project and add people. And a lot of you have seen already using it, and it's a good feature. So I strongly recommend you to just play with this a little bit. Humane software. University actually has an outstanding way of supporting software. You can have a MATLAB, Mathematica. You can have a lot of engineering software. Microsoft Word is one of them. So you can have all the software for free as long as you have affiliation with the university. University is switching now to Office 365 or something like this system. It's not as good as the one they had before, but that's pretty much the reality. Also, University of Library has a really good support for bibliography software. I didn't list it here, but I recommend you to use Zotero. It's a really good system. And it's free. It's a little bit confusing the way they word it, but reality it's free and it works with any major operating system. So this is kind of brief overview of technology that you have. Obviously, if you have some questions, we're happy to answer it. if I don't know it, I can talk. I know people who know way more than I do, and hopefully we will be able to solve your problems if you're facing some issues with software. So thank you. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Looks like you went through the Google Calendar. Looks as if I'm up next.
Paul, no, Becky will say hi to sign up for that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Apologies.
That's okay.
Becky.
So I am in charge of the CCI Google Calendar, and it is a calendar where through Google that I just list all the events, speakers, and such on there. I actually had to do some reconfiguring since I'm working from home to figure out how to add people. But I will add all of the new grad students to it automatically. But if you don't see in the next day or so that I've added you to it, and you can see the CCI events, then please email me and just let me know, and I will add you to it on my end. And that way you can have access to anything that I've put on there for events.
Thank you. Okay, two quick things. Invited speakers and lectures. Every year we have several. As Dan mentioned earlier, this is a particularly easy time for us to do it. We'll probably intersperse those into the timing of the Born Symposium, but that may not always work, so sometimes we'll have it at a different time. If you have an interest in having somebody speak, particularly by Zoom, please contact Betty and we'll see if we can fit the person in. Obviously, we'd ideally like it to be a person who would appeal to many members of the Institute. You can also be helped to put together with Becky's help. If you wanted to have a smaller group, Becky can help you find a time that might be convenient, or you can find the time on your own. Obviously, this is going to be a great several months for us interacting with people that we normally don't get to interact with. Second is the Institute New Media Code of Conduct. All that we mean here is that you are, without a doubt, a member of the Institute. But in some situations, you need to be careful about tying what you say to the Institute. We've had a couple of situations in which somebody said something, implied resources as a member on behalf of the Institute, and associations with other groups on behalf of the Institute that were troublesome. So if you're going to use the name of the Institute in anything that you think might infer your own personal views or would imply that the Institute is providing something, please check with your advisor or check with CCI admin to make sure it's okay. We'd be happy to give you an answer very quickly. We have many different outlets for providing information. One of them, which I believe Betty will be talking about shortly, is our website. But again, if you're stating an opinion about something, it's better if you just use your own name. We all have our very clear political views. The Institute, we try to stay apolitical. Obviously, because of some of the things we talk about, we're very much in favor of people caring about climate change, but we try to do it on a fact-based discussion in the public presentations we give and a variety of other things. So just be sensitive to the fact that we all need to be cognizant of the fact that we can only use the Climate Institute name in situations in which we're presenting something that is non-personal, non-political. So, next, please.
So, hello, my name is Betty Lee. I am the Assistant Director at the Climate Change Institute, and I'm going to be reviewing 3 items: how to access and manage your CCI personal website, how to share news items for posting on the CCI portal, and expedition reports. Next slide, Becky. So your CCI portal is set up by CCI admin when your advisor notifies us that you've joined our academic program. Essentially, I will reach out to the new grad student and ask for some materials to post on the CCI portal. Typically that includes photo, advisor's name, office room, short biographical sketch, and a short research sketch. And if you have a link to a research website. The option exists if you wish to manage your own CCI website portal. If you wish to do that, just send me a quick email and I will help you submit a request for website services to the UMaine Division of Marketing and Communication. Next, Becky. So this screenshot is a snapshot of Kit Hanley's website. She's a CCI PhD student. Gives you an overview of what that page is going to look like. And note that, you know, Kit's been here for a while, so she has an active website link at the bottom of her web page. Next, please. So if you have a research news item for posting on the CCI, please forward them to me. I will post it on the CCI website. And the screenshot on your left shows a snapshot of the homepage of the CCI website with the news component on the right-hand side. The news items listed throughout the year are compiled and used for the CCI annual report that's submitted to the Vice President for Research at the end of the fiscal year. Next slide, Becky. So expedition reports, again, if you can please send me a short email with your research expedition report. I will post it on the CCI website. The expedition reports vary in length on the CCI website, so you can take a look, browse through the events and take a look and see what the standard format is. The expedition reports are typically included in the CCI timeline posters that grace the third floor foyer in Bryan and in Sawyer. And they're also included in the CCI annual report. Next slide, please. So we understand that this is a really crazy time for everybody here at the University of Maine. If you need some help, please reach out to the CC admin support team for guidance. We're more than happy to help you along. And if we don't know the answer, we certainly will reach out to other admin support people so that we can get you on the right track. Let us know if you have any questions. Contact information for me is posted here and on my office door, additionally for Becky. So looking forward to hearing from you. Take care.
Thanks, Betty. All of the information that Betty just provided about submitting reports for news or expedition are really important to us. We really want to know what's going on with your career. If you have a paper that gets published, if you give a talk, if you get an award, and many CCI students and faculty get awards, please tell us. We'll put it on the website. We are a large institute, almost 130 people, and it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. There's so many exciting things going on. We use it for our annual report. Much of this information goes directly to the University Communication Center, and very often there are news stories that come out directly related to this. If you get a new grant, if you've published a paper, if you get an award, it's the way that we funnel information to the university and to the outside world. It's very important to us. So before I give a couple of concluding remarks and also open it up for more questions, I realized that I forgot at least one person when we went around and asked what's going on, and there may be more. I know I forgot Emily Blackwood. Apologies. So if you would give us a brief introduction, and then if there's anybody else that I forgot, please jump right in. Emily.
Yeah, sure, Paul. No worries. There's a lot of us to get through. As Paul said, I'm Emily Blackwood. I'm in my second year. Let's think about that. I've been here since 2010, so the years kind of mash in together. But I'm a PhD student now, and I am working with Dan Sandwise, Alice Kelly, and Kirk Mosh. And what we're doing is taking archaeological data and reconstructing that data in a virtual environment. So you'll be able to put on like VR head goggles and experience the site.
Great. Thank you, Emily. Is there anybody else that we missed? Okay, so just as a quick summary of everything you've heard, it's a lot of information. And for those of you who've been here for a while, maybe some of it is new. For those of you who've just arrived, I'm sure all of it's new. Graduate school is a steep learning curve. We don't expect you to necessarily absorb and become involved in every single thing that you've heard about today. But as time goes on, it'll become part of your normal life. And the more so, the better for everybody, because we are a multi and interdisciplinary institute, and we really do want to find out what you're doing and how we can all interact and learn from each other. So please don't feel as if you've become over-informed in the last hour or so. It'll all work itself out quite nicely. And remember that this will be on, a copy of this will be on the website, so you can go through it. So we've got about 20 minutes in case we need them. Any questions about anything? About COVID-19 activities, about other things that we do in the Institute, absolutely anything, please feel free to raise the question. We'll take 10 more seconds of uncomfortable silence. And okay. I assume we're all set. Oh, go ahead.
So maybe this was already answered in talking about sort of the objectivity of CCI, but I'm wondering if CCI or affiliated researchers are involved in any kind of climate action or pushing for, climate legislation or anything like that.
That's an excellent question, and that's a really wonderful way to I think, to phrase that question. The answer is absolutely yes. We have several members of the Institute who are heavily involved in Governor Mills's Maine Climate Council, which is not only, it's building an awful lot on reports, climate change reports that were developed by the Institute, but mostly for the physical side of the Maine Climate Council, but it's also going into many other topics that eventually end in policy, inequality, injustice. So yes, we are heavily involved in those things. We all give public talks, plenty of media responses, and as long as we feel we're providing factual information, we do that on a regular basis. As an example, I'm getting together with two other colleagues, one in the law school who's also related to our institute, one at another university in New York, and we're putting together a short list of statements about why climate matters, in particular prior to the election, because we want people to understand that although there are a lot of things going on in the world right now, quite obviously, we can't turn a blind eye to any of them. We have to deal with all of these at the same time, and they're all interconnected. Just from a personal point of view, I've written some recent pieces and in the past have done editorials or op-eds, as many of us have done, that describe in more degree why Maine should care about the Arctic, the relationship between COVID-19 and climate change. So we are definitely involved in a lot of climate activism, but it tends to be, well, we're involved in a lot of climate activism. Does that answer your question, Paloma?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Paul?
Great question.
Could I add a little to that?
Yes.
So there are a number of undergrad student groups on campus that are quite active as well.
Dan, maybe you'd introduce yourself first.
Oh yeah, hi, I'm Dan Dixon. I'm the Director of Sustainability for the campus, also Research Assistant Professor at CCI. I did my master's at CCI and PhD and postdoc. So I've been around quite a while. I know the university fairly well. So I'm also the faculty advisor for a number of student groups on campus. Two in particular are Green Team and Seed. And they do quite a lot of activism. They're pushing for divestment. They also are focusing on, nonviolent direct action type events. And I know they would certainly benefit from having grad students involved, or if the grad students are interested to form their own group, then I'd love to talk to folks about that too.
Paul.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you want to make an announcement about the Climate Change Forum during Maine Impact Week.
Yes, thank you, Betty. What's the day that we're speaking? It's the 28th?
September 28th on a Monday from 6 to 7 p.m.
Yep. Several of us in the Institute will be hosting a virtual climate town hall. We'll each be speaking for about 5 minutes, ideally to get the audience, which includes the entire university and anybody else in the public who is interested. And we'll be ideally giving enough information out to stimulate some questions. The sort of things that we'll be talking about will be, what's happening in Maine, the relationship between Maine and the Arctic, involvement of COVID-19 and climate change, climate inequality, a variety of other things. What do polls say about people's belief or non-belief in climate change? Our intention here is to keep people well informed prior to the election that climate change is critically important in the way they vote. Typically what happens is climate change is discussed early on in campaigns, and then by the time you get to the end of the campaign, there are 3 topics left, and one of them is not climate change. And yet all of these topics are clearly tied together. Climate and the economy, climate and security, climate and geopolitics, et cetera, your health and climate, a variety of other things. So the intention here is to stimulate questions from the public. And if that's successful, and we've done these sorts of things before, we'll continue or find other mediums for doing it. If any of you out there have good ideas about how we can spread this information about climate change and how it impacts all of us and will for the future, we're very open to it. We've done things in the past, such as climate change in the 21st century, in which we had open to the entire, actually not just the state, anybody who wanted to come. We had several hundred attendees, and this is several years ago, we asked not just people in the Institute, but people in any activity. This included people in music, art, sculpture, dressmaking, history, their understanding of why climate is important. And the whole purpose of that was, again, to drive home the idea, not the idea, the fact that climate change impacts all of us one way or another. We have team taught courses in some units that you might not expect us to be involved in. For example, a business school, particularly focused on MBA students, so that they understand that the sort of things that they do in the future with business, they better understand something about climate and what's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years if you want to start businesses. We have faculty who work extensively on various mitigation, not just policies, but mitigation and adaptation in terms of the reuse of clothing, a variety of other things. So and there is no limit to the way we want to become involved in the understanding, significance, impact, and realization of climate change, and how the number and the numbers of ways that we can actually be part of the solution, which obviously is the big thing, is how do we come up with a solution. Thanks for that reminder, Betty. So please sign up for it if you haven't. I think we can, there's room for plenty of people. It's a webinar. Any other questions? If not, please feel free to send any of us an email. I would particularly welcome emails from you asking questions about anything, our resources, the way we do things, what can you do with yourself after you get a degree here, what on and on. We're definitely open to talking to you, and we look forward to seeing all of you certainly once a week starting in early October. Thank you for attending. Oh, Betty, Becky, Dan Samwise, and Jasmine, I think if